Here, sheep. Some of those wethers look really fat. That's Henry's wether with the blue tag. He started his own tag in my flock. Let's move this cow along a little bit here. Come on, girl. Come on. There you go. Hang on, I'm gonna set you down while I tie this. All right, let me go turn that four-wheeler off. Oh, helps if I take my finger off. Oh, the puppies got left behind. You guys are being lazy. You guys are being lazy. You gotta go over to the sheep. Let me shut this four-wheeler off. So we're giving these sheep a really interesting paddock. It kind of goes from the road all the way around the corner and then into the next field. There's not quite enough grass here to hold them in this piece, and I don't have time for 2 moves today, and so this is what we're doing. Now, let's see if anybody can spot some problems. I see a problem right there, and there's another problem right there, and there's another problem right there, and one right there, that black-headed ram. So last night we got back from George's SFA grazing school, which was lovely, and we're going to cover that in a minute. Thought, oh, I better go down and check the animals. It's going to help me sleep. And all the sheep had decided, not the rams didn't get out. They were in a cattle panel corral. The sheep let themselves into it. They bowled over a T-post and soft-wired panel, and they let themselves into my rams. So now I'm looking at massive February lambs, and I'm trying to decide what to do with that. I got a couple of solutions. Come on, you little runter. This is one of the few ewe lambs I didn't sell because she's just not quite right. You can see she's skinny, and I just don't like the way she looks, so I wouldn't feel good selling that one. But anyhow, I gotta decide. The neighbor recommended I could just separate out the rams again and then lutalice all the sheep. It'll basically abort all the pregnancies, and we can wait till December, the proper time. I'm reluctant to do that. And I can't quite articulate why, because it is just livestock, but it just doesn't quite sit right with me to do something like that. Look at that. That's my Dorper ram. I told Greg Judy about that Dorper ram, and he just groaned and laughed, and he said, "You'll be sorry." And I said, "I think you're probably right, but I just got to see it for myself." So we'll see. So that would be a more clean management solution to the whole works. But I don't know, it just doesn't quite sit right with me, and I can't quite articulate why that is. Come on, you lazy bones. That's a wether. Good looking wether too. Look at that. He's 4 months old. Look at that hunk of meat. Anyway, see, his sack hasn't quite fallen off yet. I just castrated him maybe a week before we left. But it's dead, that's for certain. And the other thing we could do is we could just figure out some sort of like solution for February lambing. And I think it'd be a train wreck. But, you know, we have some open sheds. I was thinking maybe I could pile up bales and make a windbreak and have something where they could be dry and, yeah, it'd be cold, but they could be dry and have a windbreak, and maybe they could do that. I don't know. So, all right. So I'll think about that, and I'll decide what I want to do. I don't quite feel like I want to throw medicine at the problem to solve it. I feel like I made this ironic mistake because while I was at a conference to learn about management, my management failed me. And maybe I just need to learn a sharp lesson. I haven't quite figured out what to do with that. I'm still working through it. Isn't that a brute of a ewe? Look at that. That's a perfect one. That's a second generation ewe from my starting group. Or maybe she's a third generation. Yeah, she's a third generation. That's one of my big rams. So I'm very pleased with my rams. I'm just not pleased that the ewes couldn't resist themselves and they battered down a cattle panel with the weight of, all 100 of them or whatever it is. So, yeah. Okay, so George's conference. What a blast that was. First, before I forget, Nikki and Joe from down in the southeast Minnesota, actually they're southwest Wisconsin. They're on the Wisconsin side, I believe. Gave us homemade maple syrup. What a treat. Thank you. It was lovely to catch up with them and a few other people we've seen in back-to-back years. That's been lovely. And so really what I want to cover is just a few thoughts. What I found interesting and thrilling and like my overall highlight. And then also just something that's been gnawing at me. So as you can see, we walked through some woods with a fair amount of grass, and then they have this, this is about another third of an acre over here, and they'll be here today. So first, I went up early to help George move his sheep and cattle over to the new farm, that we can be on new ground and see what that looks like and what he's doing with that. And providentially, I would say we just finished up right when Greg and Isaac got there, and we were able to have dinner. And I will tell you, you can tell just from watching YouTube, Greg's an intelligent fella. I never would have guessed how funny he was. He had me cracking up and telling stories, and that dinner alone was worth the price of admission just to see the man behind the camera. I mean, I've watched his YouTube videos for years, and man, he is a funny dude. And that was a lot of fun. I thought every lecture had a lot of merit to it. I thought Isaac came back and kind of expanded upon his drought management lecture that he gave last year, and it was very good. It was, more fleshed out and gave me lots to work on. Obviously this isn't a year with a drought problem, but we actually kind of had the opposite problem. But it's still, we know we know a dry spell or a drought or whatever you want to call it. We know that's coming back. Might as well be prepared. And so that was very edifying. I learned a lot in Greg and Isaac's lectures. The field work was very good. I will say I wasn't a huge fan of the dung beetle conversation because it was mostly just about flies and what to pour on them. I don't care about that. I mean, I know that's useful to, some people and some people not, but to me, I just it was fine. And then I thought, George made some, George doesn't like to talk, even though he's a super smart guy, but the comments he made through the course of lectures were very good about mental health, about sticking together. And that's what these conferences are about. And, poignantly pulling people back from thinking mechanistically and reminding people in the middle of discussions that this is life, this is biology, and you can't force it to do what it you shouldn't maybe force it to do what it doesn't want to. So I enjoyed listening to all the comments that Jordan Meyer made about small ruminants. That guy's got a brain for agribusiness that I think he could probably write a few books on it, honestly, if he sat down and did it. He's thought of thought of a way to squeeze every ounce of profit out of his farm, ravines, woods, fields, and all. Amazing. And then again, we got to catch up with some people we've gotten to know over the last couple of years, and that's been very good, especially when you're doing something outside the mainstream. It's critical to maintain those ties, and that's I really enjoyed that. I sold some lambs up there, and in one of those sales, I got to meet Sami. He lives up by George. Like, I bet you could hit Sami's house from George's farm, very close, and got to know him and his dad, and super sharp fella, getting going, and already seeing the angles and seeing the lines that you have to draw to be successful. Stood around and talked to him and his dad for hours as we helped with setup and so on. So, and then I would say probably the highlight of my day, and it was like the whole week, or highlight of the weekend. It was like a 5-second comment. We were looking at conformation of animals, just how they are and what that tells us, cattle and sheep. And Greg said, "Look at those sheep out there. That's just about what you want." And they were the ones I had sold to George. And that, I about cried out there. I had to walk off and like do a little fist pump where no one could see me. I'm very proud of my sheep flock, and I put a lot of work into it. But you never really know what you got until somebody who really knows what they're talking about can confirm it for you. And so that was really awesome. And then I would say, and I don't want to be a giant crank about this, so hopefully nobody will take this the wrong way. We all share successes and like what we're doing. But there was just a few things where I really wanted to hear more from Isaac and Greg and Jordan and the other speakers, and there were just people that were saying why it wouldn't work, or how they do it different from these very successful guys. And I really want to just say, hey, let's just listen to them. You don't have to agree with everything they say, but I feel like we probably missed some things that we could have learned because of what I would call irrelevant. It's not bad, but irrelevant back and forth, when I'm there to learn as much as I possibly can and enjoy myself, granted. But so hopefully that doesn't come off as me being a giant crank. But that was kind of the only sand in the gears for me, was just we all know there's a million ways to do something, but we're there to learn from these men, and I think it was all men. Yeah, all these men who have made a living out of it, and a good one, and they know what they're talking about. They have a lifetime of experience. I mean, shoot, Isaac's, I think he said he's 25. That fella already knows more about livestock than I'll probably learn in my whole life. I want to listen to him. That's the guy that I want to know about or hear from. And yeah, so I'm ranting now. I'll stop. But that was probably the only thing. And I don't know if there's anything an organizer can do about that. I mean, that's just the nature of having a big group of people that are passionate about, the same thing. So, so that was my evaluation of the weekend. I learned a ton, an absolute ton. I enjoyed the hell out of myself. I got to meet some people I've been dying to meet. I got to have long, good conversations with friends and like-minded people, and it was a good reboot for me as I'm wrapping up the growing season. And I know, by the way, it doesn't look like I'm wrapping up the growing season, but I am. Our grass will shut down in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then what I got left is what I got left. So even though it looks like I have a lot here, I'm going to save a lot of it and try to hit this once or twice more before I have to get into hay. So, all right.